I'm going to show you guys how to do a paper weaving for in your sketchbook. All you are going to start by needing is vertical lines cut through your paper, not all the way to the top or not all the way to the edges. So you'll have to leave a little bit of gap of space there. And then paper strips, just cut into kind of thin strips. These are maybe 1/4 of an inch or a little bit bigger. Colored papers, newspapers, book papers, anything can get woven into your pages like that. So we're going to use a cutting mat, and you're going to have to slide that under the page you're going to be weaving into, and then an X-Acto blade, and then also a metal cork-backed ruler. Metal because if you cut next to a plastic ruler, the X-Acto blade will cut into the plastic ruler, and then the cork back helps it stick better onto your paper and not slide around so much. So you're going to need to maybe make some markings so you know how far apart you want. Of course, I don't have a pencil. So you know how far apart you want your spacing to be. So I would say every 1/8 of an inch. And you can kind of use some of the lines. Like if I set my paper up along a vertical line here and across my ruler across the line here, I can try to keep things even. And then I'm just going to put a little dot. And you also are going to need to kind of set your ruler up so that it's even at the top and bottom. So if I'm going to set this at 5.5, I also need to set my ruler up against 5.5 so that it is the same, the lines are the same distance away from the edge of the paper. And so I'm just going to start here at 1/2 inch though, and just make a little speck. You could do this on the back of your paper so you don't see these markings. And I'm just going along every, I guess it's 1/4 of an inch, not 1/8 of an inch. Every 1/4 inch. And then I'll go all the way up to the last like 1/2 inch of my paper. And so I'm going to come along the bottom as well. I'm going to set this again at 5.5. It's hard to tell if I'm parallel with the edge of my paper. So that's why I'm kind of using this all as a guide. And my ruler's coming along this line on my cutting mat here. And then I started the in a little bit, that 1/4 inch in, and I'm just going to mark these two. Okay, and I would do that with a pencil so you can erase. I just didn't have one handy at the time. So now I'm going to just cut, and I'm putting my ruler, and this blade is really thin, so you're coming right up against that dot. You don't need to leave a gap of space to take into account the width of a pencil lead like you sometimes have to with a ruler. And I'm just going to slide my my blade down from one dot to the next. So I'm keeping I'm right-handed, so I'm keeping my left hand on my ruler and back and away. I'm taking my time, I'm not close to my stomach that it would slip and cut into me, and glide along the ruler. If I was left-handed, I would do similar but opposite. I'm not left-handed, but going this way with my ruler on the right. So I'm just going to keep on cutting my lines. And make sure that you are staying up against the edge. That last one, it was a bit of a crooked line because I didn't realize it, but I was not actually pushing my blade up against my ruler. So make sure you're really using that ruler as a physical support, not just like a visual. I'm not trying to just stay along my ruler. I'm actually pressing my blade kind of up against my ruler. So when I get to the edge, my ruler doesn't really have enough room because of my binding, so I'm going to have to kind of pull my ruler up over my coils. And I will tell you, the quicker you try to go, I'm trying to talk while I'm doing this, and I keep on messing these lines up. So take your time and don't rush this process, because clearly I'm making mistakes and I was not intending to do any of those. Okay, so now all my lines, my straight lines and my wonky lines are cut. I am done with the blade for good. The only other thing you'll need besides your paper is tape. Some of my strips kind of, if it doesn't go in a certain way, some of the strips will kind of want to slide around on you. So I just on the back put some clear tape. But now you just get to play. I did a pattern with this one. So I did like every third, and then I alternated, and then I did 3, and I also did blue, yellow. I did like an opposite kind of thing where I did blue, yellow, red, text, print, text, red, yellow, blue, yellow, red. I don't know. I did a bit of a pattern. Now, what's cool about this is it looks awesome from the front and the back. I actually intended this to look better, but because this can actually show more color, I ended up liking this side better. So I'm done with that cutting mat, and now just the strips of paper. And there's just gonna play with it. There's a couple different ways. I mean, you can hold this paper up and kind of maneuver it. I just, depending on which one I was doing, some things felt more comfortable and some things felt a little more difficult, but you're just simply sliding across. When I get to the end, I have to decide, like, do I want this to come on top? Do I want to show a little bit more of this? Do I want to hide it from the back? I'll end up kind of trimming these off. No correct answer. And then if you accidentally do 2 on one of these instead of 3, then you can always just pull it out and go back and kind of fix it. So I'll show you if I'm going to do every third but opposite and show you something, because this like can slide down on top of this one. Looks cool. That's a thinner paper, and now you see the outline, but it doesn't hold right on top of this one like some of the patterns you do could. So that's why I ended up wanting to tape. I'm getting confused. That's why I ended up wanting to tape mine from the back, was to hold that in place, because this could slide right down over the top, and maybe that's a part of your method, but if this is kind of moving around and not locking into place with the one below it, then you can adjust that way. I'm just going to do another one that will, this time, I'll just alternate it differently. So now these two, because they kind of interlock this way, this will not go over the blue one. It like gets stuck on top of that one. So sometimes they'll slide and move around. Sometimes they'll actually gather in a way that keeps them tight. So just kind of play around. There's no really wrong way to do this. Sometimes when I was pulling these text ones through, I'd get to a part that showed the white, and so I would kind of adjust that so I made sure and saw mostly color. I didn't just see the white gaps. Like here, I wanted to see more of that black on that one, but it showed the white. So no big deal. I was just kind of playing around and really like that process, and it's just nice and cathartic and fun. So enjoy.